Hi, I'm Liao, and I run Developer Evangelism here at DocuSign. Today, I'm in our sunny headquarters in Seattle, and I'm with Eric Fleischman, who's our Chief Architect on the DocuSign platform. Thanks for joining us, Eric.
Thanks for having me.
So we're here today to talk about what it really takes to build what we're calling a CarrierGrade platform. Now, I love the way CarrierGrade platform sounds. It's so much sexier than some of the other terms that other companies use these days. Eric, can you tell us a little bit more about what it took to build that and what that means?
Sure. So our goal when we started this project 4 years ago was to build a platform that customers could bet on, that they could really trust with their most critical transactions, with their most critical business. And so to us, CarrierGrade was about dial tone-like reliability, hence the term CarrierGrade. 4 to 5 nines of reliability, always on, always available, consistent performance, being able to deliver a trustworthy experience to customers 24 hours a day, 7 days a week.
So we've talked about 3 design principles in the past, and I think these are all super important, so let's go through each one. We've talked about security, trust, and transparency. Why don't we start with security, and can you share a little bit about how DocuSign takes security seriously, what we do for it, what that means to us?
Sure. So for a lot of our customers, we house their most sensitive transactions, whether it's a real estate agreement or compensation agreement, a wide array of transactions that constitute the most sensitive things in people's lives. So to us, making sure that the right people are interacting with the right transaction in the right way that is our number one priority. By a country mile, that's the most important thing we do. So we invest significantly in protecting our platform from a variety of different external threats. We do identity-related services to make sure that the person on the other side of the transaction is who they say they are. We produce artifacts at the ends of transactions so that people can, attest to the legitimacy of the transaction for long periods of time. All of these different areas that we invest in to build the most secure, quite frankly, platform that we can.
And I guess that's where we come up with the term bank-grade architecture, right?
Yeah, so people have this mental model of the bank being the trusted place with their money, and we want to be the trusted place with their transactions.
Brilliant. So that brings us to trust, which is, of course, as you mentioned, a core principle for us at DocuSign. Can you tell us about how trust, when you're designing and building the DocuSign platform, like data integrity, continuous availability, maybe things like that?
Sure. So the funny thing about building a trustworthy platform for customers is that trust means different things to different people. Sure. For some people, the trust of their transaction is knowing the person is who they say they are and making sure that the agreement never leaks out, that it never gets into the wrong hands. For other people, the agreements could be perhaps functionally public. Maybe it's a non-disclosure agreement in a lobby where there isn't so much in the way of sensitivity of the data in the agreement, but they care a ton that agreement is processing 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, because there's some sort of real-world process on the other side of it that halts when the transaction processing engine doesn't run anymore. And so we want to appeal to all of the different senses of trust. We want people to be able to trust us with their agreements, no matter what their different goals are, even within a business where they have different types of transactions that they process, and we want them to trust us with, quite frankly, with all of them.
So transparency is sort of a popular topic these days, and I remember in Product Bootcamp you talked quite a bit rather, about our monitoring systems. Can you tell us a bit about those and how they lend themselves to transparency?
Yeah, to be honest, our belief is that you can't be trusted unless you're transparent. That the very beginning, even before you've achieved something worthy of somebody's trust, that you simply have to be honest about what you have achieved. And so we've built extensive systems to monitor the security and reliability of our platforms. So in the example you gave, the monitoring systems, we have big scale telemetry systems that quite frankly process tens of billions of events per day, about 65 billion events per day as we're having this discussion. 1.2 million pieces of telemetry per second that are telling us if the system is healthy or not. And if not, giving us insight into the state of that transaction on a customer by customer as well as system by system basis, and then feeding into automatic remediation systems that can repair problems, frankly, before customers ever notice them.
So you're hitting on something really interesting there, which is our take on continuous improvement. Obviously, our real-time monitoring lends itself to that. Can you speak a little bit more about that?
Yeah, so we're constantly evolving this machine, whether it's configuration changes, software changes, shipping major versions of the code, small fixes. We're kind of in a continuous evolution mode with the platform, and we use the data as the first and foremost place that we learn. There's no better place to learn if customers are having a great experience with DocuSign than to simply look at the data and see what is the end user's experience with our platform. So we use that as the first input, quite frankly, when thinking about what do we have to do to make it faster, or what do we make better about that reliability event, or whatever it might be.
I remember when I was doing one of my first trainings and you presented to us, you talked about how the assumption was, or you built everything around the notion that everything would would probably fail at some point.
That's
Can we
right.
talk about that idea and sort of what our approach was to sort of get around that or to solve for that?
Yeah, I mean, it turns out everything fails eventually. I mean, given enough time and enough entropy in the system, given enough scale, right, everything fails. And that's true from hard drives all the way up through data centers. And so we've taken an engineering approach where we simply, rather than trying to engineer around the failures and make them as rare as possible, we've taken an engineering approach which is to say, let's just start with the assumption that this is going to happen a lot. How would we build a reliable platform in the face of this thing happening 100 times a day, 1,000 times a day, whatever that very large value of n is? How do we build a system that would still deliver a great experience for customers, even if this event were happening in the middle of their transaction?
Naturally, I love our customer-first approach, and I love everything that we've done to sort of safeguard and be transparent with our customers. Any last thoughts you want to leave us with in terms of platform? And
I mean, we do a lot of things in platform. We build a lot of features for a lot of people, whether it's expanding globally or standards-based signatures or all of these things. But this is actually the most important, and to me at least, the most interesting part of what we do. Making a platform that's continuously available that customers trust is, to me at least, the reason I came here.
thanks so much, Eric. I appreciate it.
Thanks.